so I won't say my longer speech. I'll save that a little bit later. Good morning, and welcome to Lulac Head Start. This is an exciting day, although we're here for a very poignant reason. This is really excited to have our Congresswoman, our favorite Congresswoman, here with us. Rosa DeLauro is such a staunch advocate for Head Start and specifically for our program here in New Haven. So we are welcoming you to talk to everyone about the importance of not cutting this funding that is so crucial to our New Haven community. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, it's great to be here, and the building is fabulous. It really is. It's so anyway, think about the rich history, the very, very rich history of Lulac, and what a difference you've made in children's lives and families' lives. So I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to work with you, to partner with you. And so, you're just wonderful. The role that you are performing, and we'll talk about that, because there is such success with Head Start, and it is so disappointing that we are we're staring at, a potential for serious and drastic cuts in Head Start. But let me also recognize Kashonda Lawrence, Iris Rodriguez, educators, thank you. Essential, absolutely. Tommy Sheridan, Director of the National Head Start Association, thank you for all that you do. Our parents, Angelica Mormon, is Melita here? Yes. There she's right there, Melita Melendez. So thank you. It's a wonderful team here at Lulac. And it's about what you do in terms of making sure that kids are school ready. You foster family development in what you do. You create lifelong learners in our communities, starting from as early as 8 weeks old to 5 years of age. I'm a townie, born and raised in the city of New Haven. And I can remember, because one of my first jobs was with the Community Progress Incorporated, which was the first community action agency in the country. And the folks who worked in that project ultimately went on to begin, and it really read right here in New Haven with people like Jim Comer and others who took this vision of Head Start to Washington, D.C., and they got it funded for the first time ever. And when you think about that rich history and what this has meant in the lives of children today, it really is extraordinary. So, and you actively engage parents, who worry every single day about their kids. You also recognize that family participation is such a key to a child's outcome, which is why I'm so proud to be a champion in Washington. And I take that very, very seriously. And I don't mean to be self-serving, but, I don't know if there's a higher calling to be thinking about our kids and what we need to try to do for them. I look forward to our continued partnership. And like all of you, I believe that if our country is to live by our professed values, we need to start with our children. And getting off to a good start is a child's birthright. This is my vision, this is your vision, and I believe it's the moral center that focuses all the work that you do and the work that I do as well. So for being here today, and I want to mention the impact. And I say this with a lot of emotion. The impact of what the proposed House Republican cuts will do to Head Start programs. And I also believe that it's imperative for the American public to know what is at stake if this continues to move forward. The issue is we have two very big issues that we're facing today in this country economically. One is this debt ceiling that people are talking about, which I might add, we have lifted this debt ceiling 78 times in the last several years, 3 just under the previous administration, under the Trump administration. No ifs, ands, nors, or but. We lifted the debt ceiling because it's like it's your credit card. You went out, you spent the money, the bill comes due. You don't start to negotiate with MasterCard. You don't start to negotiate. You pay the bill. You have to pay the bill. So that's a separate issue. Then the other piece of this is the government funding, and what we spend through the appropriations process to provide for government services, whether it's Head Start, whether it's Title I, special education, transportation, all of the government services. And normally, the appropriations process would not be brought in to the issue on the debt ceiling. That's an issue for a committee called Ways and Means. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I was chair last year, ranking member this year. But what my Republican colleagues have done is to really, in essence, is to hold the country hostage by saying, unless you make these drastic cuts in the government services and in these appropriations bills, we will not vote for lifting the debt ceiling. So that they have combined the two. And then they now have said with regard to appropriations or the of funding of the government to the budget, that instead of looking at how we build on what we did for this year, for 2023, that as we go into 2024, we are going to look back to the year 2022, and we are going to base our budget on what those numbers are. And just a little bit, I'm sorry to go through that, but I think it's important to understand the context of all of this, and what we are really arguing about. If enacted, if you go to those 2022 numbers, it imposes drastic cuts to programs in 2024. And they also are talking about severe spending caps on these domestic programs that would last for the next 10 years. So for the last several months, I've been focused on the impact of these cuts. And what I did was I wrote to all of the federal agencies and I asked them, tell me in human terms, don't give me percentages and numbers, tell me in human terms what these cuts would mean to the programs under your jurisdiction. And so, and just to tell you, again, for context, if you were to apply what they want to do to every single agency, this would be about a 9% cut across the board. But if, as some of my colleagues have said, they are not going to cut any of the defense numbers. And look, I support defense. I'm from a defense-dependent state, so I'm supportive of defense. But the view is that we would not cut anything and maybe increase the amount of money for defense. Well, if you do that, you are then looking at a 19% cut to the rest of the programs. And and they don't protect veterans in this bill, but there are some who will say we need to do something for veterans, and we do, and we want to account for that. But if you then take that out of the equation, then you're looking at 22 to 25% cuts in the rest of the spending. If they were to increase the defense number substantially, it could be up to 30%. I'm not making up the numbers. Anyone can check on it. What does this mean? If you're looking at, let's use the 22%, which is what the agencies have dealt with, because that's real. That is very, very real at the moment. Across the country, 200,000 kids will lose access to Head Start. In Connecticut, the proposal will eliminate the opportunity for 2,200 preschoolers from going to class or having access to childcare as well. The impact, in addition to cuts to Head Start and childcare, The child care, and we know that child care is on shaky ground. Shaky ground. And imagine, are being unable because parents are not going to work. You guys will talk about it. You're not going to work if your kid is not in a safe place. And I don't blame you. It's what happened during the pandemic. Over 2 million women pushed out of the workforce. They didn't opt out. They were pushed out because they didn't have a job. Their kids weren't going to school. They had no place to place their children. And they found themselves, having to stay home with their kids because the services were not there. But in addition, so that you know, this would also strip the opportunity for 80,000 people to attend college. It would impact all of 6.6 million students who rely on Pell Grants. It decreases the maximum award by $1,000. Cut work-study benefits, eliminates financial support for 85,000 students who are working while they earn a degree, and they would make it more difficult for administering the student financial aid for the 40 million borrowers who need service in this country, raise housing costs for more than 600,000 families who, under the plan, lose access to rental assistance. This includes older adults, people with disabilities, families with kids. And without rental assistance, tell me, do we have a homeless problem already? Will we increase the homeless problem? You bet we will. So, and health care coverage overall at risk for 21 million Americans. And I'm not making this up. This is all verified information which you can get access to. It's wrong. I believe it's callous. I believe it's cruel, and we cannot let it happen. And particularly, I view Head Start and child care as economic drivers of our economy. Because if these pieces are not in place, then we cannot have, again, as I said, people be employed, gainfully employed, and be able to take care of themselves and their families. And that's what people want to do. I find it very troubling to listen to some of my colleagues who denigrate these programs, who talk about, well, there's got to be another way to do this. Federal government shouldn't be doing it. The states should be doing it. Well, we know that that's not going to happen. And this is the proper role and the proper place for the federal government. Let me close with this. President Lyndon Johnson once described Head Start's purpose by saying, and I quote, "We set out to make certain that poverty's children would not be forevermore poverty's captives." And for nearly 60 years, Head Start and its really dedicated staff and advocates have lifted millions of children to new heights. Head Start has really been one of America's true success stories and unquestionably one of the most effective early childhood development programs ever developed. And I say with reverence the name of Jim Comer in our community. He is New Haven. This is where this started. And they're not going to take it back. Head Start is a shining example of how dedicated teachers, with the help of smart federal investments, enrich the lives of our citizens. We should be investing more in Head Start programs, not tearing them down. And that's what the Republican proposal will do. I'm going to stop so that we can answer questions, but please join me in welcoming the Deputy Director of the National Head Start Association, Tommy Sheridan, to say a few words. Tommy, the floor is yours.
All right. Usually I get to introduce the Congresswoman, and instead going after her, I feel like all I want to say is what she said. right? That's totally spot on and totally the thing. But thank you. And I do want to underscore just to start, being here in New Haven, this is a special place for Head Start. The Congresswoman mentioned James Comer, also Dr. Ed Ziegler, Dr. Walter Gilliam, really some of the original founding fathers, founding folks, and folks who really have advanced Head Start over the last several decades came from this area. And of course, that's not even to mention some of our fiercest advocates, such as somebody you just heard from, who have been there to make sure that Head Start has continued to play a role in communities everywhere across the country. Communities from Manhattan, New York, to Manhattan, Kansas, to Manhattan Beach, to the base of the Grand Canyon. There literally is a tribal program in the base of the Grand Canyon, and beyond. It really is a remarkable public success story. And of course, being here in Lulac, which is an absolutely well-known, absolutely amazing program that is known in Washington, D.C. circles. It's known across Connecticut. It's known really across the country for the high-quality services that are afforded to children and families. I don't want to mince my words here. Times are really tough for Head Start. Things are really challenging. We're struggling across the country. We're struggling to keep classrooms open. We're struggling to find staff and to keep our staff because we cannot afford to pay them the wages that they deserve. Frankly, not even the wages, not even a professional wage, but really a living wage. We're struggling to be able to do that. We're not able to keep up pace with salaries of private companies. We're not able to even keep up with salaries of our K-12 partners who are doing similar types of jobs. And again, I'm not trying to say we need to drop those salaries. We should be lifting all of these up. And we know that the K-12 system is struggling with this as well. Now is really the time that we need to be investing in programs like Head Start, programs that we know make a difference. As the Congresswoman mentioned, Head Start has a track record of success. There was a study that came out, I love the quote from President Johnson, and there's a study that came out just last fall that showed that Head Start has been proven to disrupt intergenerational poverty, meaning that a child who went to Head Start is less likely to, their child, is less likely to be in poverty than they were. And that is what we're here to do. That is what Head Start is here to do. That is why we have a program like we do, and that is why we need to make sure that we keep up the federal commitment behind a program like that. And I don't even mean just maintain. I mean, again, we need to double down on that. Families are also struggling right now. Children have been through so much, right? I mean, the last few years have been difficult for everybody, no matter where you are, no matter what space you're in. But the reality is that we talked early on in the pandemic about how we're on the same boat, weathering the same storm. That's true, but not everybody has the same boat. Some people may have luxury yachts. Some people may be hanging on to driftwood, right? And I think that that's important for us to recognize, and especially to see the challenges that how this has impacted and played out with children. Children are struggling. There's challenging behaviors in the classroom. There's difficulty of self-regulating. There's difficulty of interacting and building these nurturing relationships that are so needed at that age. And that's why we need programs like Head Start. That's why we need caring staff who are there to be able to support those children and help them work through this, help them learn and develop in a way in a world, that we've never seen, that we haven't been part of. In fact, we shouldn't be talking about even flat funding or cutting or even just giving a small increase. We should be talking about massively expanding and investing in a program like Head Start and Early Head Start, as well as childcare, at a time like this when we know these programs make such a big difference for our society and frankly, for the future of our country. Unfortunately, we're having to fight instead. We're having to have these conversations, as the Congresswoman laid out so perfectly. I'm glad I don't have to go into that. And we simply cannot let this type of proposal move forward. As was said, this 20% cut would be looking at about 170,000 slots being reduced nationwide. 170,000 children not being able to have access to Head Start. 170,000 families not knowing what to do or where to go, and also not even knowing that there is childcare options available, as was said on top of this too. Even in Connecticut, we're talking about 1,400 slots. In Congresswoman's district, we're talking about 343 slots alone. And those numbers continue on and on and on. Those are just numbers, though. And you're going to hear the stories in just a second about why this is so important and what Head Start does really to be able to support children and families. I just want to wrap up by saying, now, as I said, now is the time that we really must be investing in our staff. We must be investing in our future. It is terrifying to think that we're even struggling to be able to keep up with everything that's going on. And if on top of that, we're looking at taking a 22% cut and looking at 10 years of extreme austere budget measures, it is not what our children deserve. It is not what our staff deserve. It is not what our communities deserve. And again, when we know we have a program like Head Start that has been proven time and again to have such an impact, that seems like a good thing for us to be focused on and a good thing for us to invest in. So that's the scary reality of where we are. But the good thing is that we do have, and Head Start, I always say this about Head Start, it's not just the program that serves, it's the people behind Head Start. And I think you're gonna see that in our next several folks that are gonna come here. So please let me introduce Mikhail Bird, who is the executive director of the Lulac program, somebody that I always see working constantly and tirelessly, always with a smile on your face. And I'm excited, even in this conversation, you have a smile on your face right now too. So I'll turn it over.
So I just realized I'm sandwiched in between these two and these four. So I'm going to make it quick because I'm not the excitement. These people are the excitement, our families and our staff. But again, I am Mikhail Bird Vaughn. I welcome you to Lulac Head Start. This year, we actually celebrate our 40th year service as a Head Start agency in the New Haven. And as we sit and think about all the things that we want to celebrate, we definitely want to give our voice around not decreasing or cutting our budget. Of course, I want to thank you again for Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro and Deputy Director Tommy Sheridan for coming out today. This is such important times. And, I sit behind the desk and I do a lot of paperwork and I do a lot of grants, but the stories, the impact of the work that we do is so amazing. That's the things I get to touch every now and again, but you'll get to touch through the stories of our staff and our families about the great work that we do as a community agency. We serve 300 children in the city of New Haven. And of those 300 children, 200 are federally funded. This building alone, 9 classrooms, 8 of them federally funded, children 8 weeks to 5 years old. As we think about the comprehensive services, the quality of early Head Start and Head Start, what we do is child development, but we also do family development. We partner with families early in the children's lives to make sure that the family and the child is school ready, that they're able to have resources to access and achieve their own levels of success and self-sufficiency. We are fortunate to be in the state of Connecticut, where we have a governor and we have an Office of Early Childhood who supports the work that we do. But state funding is not enough. We need federal funding to do the services and to do them as well as we know we can for the families that need us. I check this number almost regularly, but I want to share with you as we talk about cuts. Our waiting list as of today is 160 families. Almost half, more than half of what we now serve. And it has greatly increased since the pandemic with the increase in poverty, the increase in needs in our community. And it is not time for us to close doors or close classrooms. Our time now is to add money to the budget, to add to the increased needs across the nation, not just in New Haven. We have wonderful teachers, but as we stated, our crisis of teacher shortages, of the crisis of trauma in the communities requires us to do more, to invest more as a nation. These shortages with competitive salaries and the increased work for the teachers in the classrooms should be met with more, not less. So as we think about this investment, and I always like to think about the investment of Head Start as not just a tomorrow investment. We are investing today. We have invested yesterday. In our rich 40-year history, we have alumni, including in the room, who have gone through this program and have excelled and exceeded in life. He's going to be very shy. He's in the corner in the blue shirt. Don't look now. Don't look now. And we actually just hired an accountant, our full-time fiscal manager, who is in the first class of Lulac. These are the success stories that we know programs like ours can do. And so again, as we think about investing in our community, we ask the federal government, we ask our advocates to continue as we collectively come together to say our communities need us now more than ever. So I can tell you the story of Lulac, but nobody can do it better than our families and our staff. So I'm going to turn it over first to two of our illustrious teachers, Kashonda Lawrence and Miss Iris Rodriguez, to talk about the essential work that we do and how much we are needed in this community. Please, Kashonda and Iris.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Like they said, my name is Kashonda Lawrence, and I am early childhood education teacher. I have been a part of LULAC's legacy for 2 decades. Let that marinate. 2 decades. So you know what this teacher profession means to me. It's been 2 decades. I am so proud to stand here and say that. I didn't know 19 years ago when I walked into LULAC to enroll my son that I would be a part of an early education childhood movement. Yes, 19 years ago, childcare was still important, and we're still fighting today. One day, when picking up my son from LULAC, he said, "Mom, do you know what my teacher job is?" I thought, "Is this a trick question?" And I laughed. He looked at me. He said, "My teacher grows brains." I'm like, oh, aha moment. Okay. I applied at LULAC that next day. I'm like, if he could look at me with such inspiration and tell me that his teacher grows brains, I want to work at LULAC. I want to be a teacher. Teaching gives me that wow experience. It's like turning on a small light in a dark room. A parent said to me just yesterday, "You're the reason I'm smiling today." And that made me feel so good because we took these children from a pandemic culture to a new normalcy, and the parents trusted us. Honestly, these moments is what helps me stay in this teacher profession, along with building a foundation for lifelong learners, and the fact that I am a teacher help children build self-confidence necessary to navigate the world. I advocate for funding for early childhood education and childcare, not only for me, but for all teachers and the voiceless parents and children. Let's elevate, provide funding for early childhood education and children that is greater than instead of less than. Let's reset education with our nurturing vibes. As a result, children will thrive. Let's be the helping hand so families can be revived. With childcare, they can rely. Let's lay the foundation for our youngest learners. Let's provide livable wages for our early childhood education teachers. Every dollar of federal investment in early childhood education and childcare is critical. Let's be the innovative solution. Address the inequities. Make education great again. Increase funding for early childhood education and childcare. Provide livable wages for educators. And I'm going to leave with this. When I say together we will, you say make it happen. Together we will.
Make it happen.
When I say together we can, you say create future leaders. Together we can.
Create future leaders.
Because we are essential.
Here, here. Wow. Beautiful.
Good morning to all, and thank you for being with us today in this beautiful day. My name is Iris Rodriguez. I've been part of this community Head Start for 14 years. And is there no way I am going to do something for 14 years that I don't love? And I can give testimony how Lula impact my own life with my own children. I was part of Head Start. I was a child in Head Start. And even my both children are teachers right now. Both of them are teachers, but they was part of Head Start. That's why Head Start made future leaders. And when even we went through a pandemic, this crisis turned our parents and teacher worlds upside down. But what didn't break us, made us Lula strong. Can you imagine a world without a childcare? So many families will lose their homes. They will lose their childcare that has helped them keep their job. Lula is not just a daycare. Lula is the place where parents have trust teachers, where parents trust teachers, I'm sorry, teachers when their children knowing they are safe. Lulac is our family. Lulac is home.
Before I introduce our two moms, I also forgot to say one thing. The name of this new center. So this center, we secured federal funding to update our facility for our children and families. And we opened in January this year, really exciting. But the name of this center is Future Leader Center, and it was named after Kashonda Lawrence, one of our teachers, who really, we had a contest and asked everyone to contribute names, but we wanted a name that gave a feeling in the work and legacy of what our Head Start program is for the New Haven community. So I forgot to share that, but every time I hear that Future Leaders, I think about everything that we do here as a Head Start agency is around developing our leaders of tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angelica and Alita, our two moms, to come talk about the impact of Head Start.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're great.
Let's go. Okay. To shake off the jitters, I'll say hola. I have 6 children, so I have 3 younger ones who are in Lulac. So we'll start off with Kingston. Kingston's rambunctious. Kingston's 4. So Kingston was the first to arrive at Lulac. I would say Kingston's now, he's more reserved. He'll give you breathing methods, which is a turtle. He'll hold his chest, he'll count to 5, and he'll do a whole routine, which is the relaxing method of, the procedure or whatnot. But also with Kingston, he also had, how should I say this, learning disabilities. He's very active and rambunctious, I should say. He's a boy. But one thing with Lulac, they were, how should I say this, very kind and nurturing to him. And anything that I needed or was cautious about, they were very willing, step by step. Yes, so that's a positive. And he's graduating this year, so it's a sad, but it's a happy. So then following behind Kingston's Raina. So Raina's 3. Raina entered at less than 6 weeks, so she was a baby. Yes, so we moved from Florida to New Haven, and quickly Raina was in Lulac because Kingston was already in. So following behind that, Raina was possibly as a attendee, so she got in. So Raina's a girl, she's 3, but she's a character, I should say. She don't use her listening ears too well with mom, but in the establishment of Lulac, she's wonderful. I mean that with a positive. Yeah. Then we have Caesar falling behind Raina, which is 2. The same as, he entered when he was a baby as well. Less than 6 weeks because mom wanted to, get them in Head Start. What's wrong with a good head mind? Because Lulac does that. A good positive mindset. So Caesar's potty trained now. That's a good thing. But see, with Caesar, he's a boy, but he's just quiet right now. So he's not in the same classroom with Raina, so maybe he uses words more. But with the following, he'll move to the following room with Raina next year, September, if I'm not mistaken, when Kingston leaves. But in all, we're grateful for Lulac. I'm a policy council member, I think, of 2 years now. And it's just, they help with any and everything. It's the small things for me. Me personally, it's just going in and say good morning to their friends, the parents, Yeah. And Caesar, he hugs everyone, even if they don't want to hug. Yeah, that happened this morning with 2 of our friends. The girl wanted a hug, and then the boy didn't want the hug. He gave the boy a hug again, and he didn't want the hug, but mom was like, I'll take his hug. I was like, see, everyone loves us. But it's a team effort from Lulac, from us to them. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you. You can come next. See how teamwork.
Nalita.
Good morning. My name's Nalita. When I first came here, we had just moved from Florida, and Maya was 2, going on 3. because her birthday's in February. She's a Valentine's Day baby. So Maya, she could be a little handful, but you know, at home she's very hyper and don't sit down. So I'll be like, Maya, do you do this in school? She's like, no. I'm like, why you don't do that at home and you do it, you know? But she, you know, she likes to talk a lot. She's very caring, affectionate. She'll go up to the staff and give them hugs and talk to them. She's actually graduating too, June. And she got accepted to John Martinez. So she'll be going to John Martinez in September. But yeah, before she started here, she was in diapers, and then Lulac helped her get into the potty training. So she didn't want to use the bathroom at home, but school helped her give her a little push. But she's doing wonderful. She's writing her name. She's very outspoken, and thanks to Lulac, Lulac has been a big help in helping her do the things she didn't want to do at home to school. So my heart to yeah, thank you.
Those are the powerful stories when you listen to Kashanda. Come on, all of you up here, please, please. You really are the story. I mean that so sincerely. You know, Lulac grows brains. Future leaders.
That's right.
I mean, my God, you know, what more incentive or impetus can it give those of us who serve at the federal level to understand that what we do is making a difference?
That's right.
Making a difference. And you know, thank you, Tommy. And I was remiss. I wish that Dr. Ed Ziegler and Walter Gillian and Jim Comer were here this morning, because you have fulfilled every bit of vision that they have had for this program and its success. They can, and with particularly Dr. Ziegler, he can rest easy. He can rest easy because what he did was to make such a difference. And in connection, all of them engaged and involved with Yale Child Study. So Tommy, your point about New Haven really has been at that center of child development at every stage of their lives. And I can't thank you enough for that. And I just want to say is we have tried. I just will tell you about the 2023 numbers. We were able to provide $960 million to make sure that Lulac and other Head Start programs had the funding, $12 billion for Head Start. For the improvements, another almost $300 million for activities like the benefits you talked about for the workers and the increase in salaries. And our job is to build on what we did and not take us in a different direction with the scale of the cuts that are being talked about. And so I'm here to say we need your help. We need your help. And that the Congress is a place where external pressure makes a real difference. And you are the external pressure. It's the stories that you have told here this morning that is the power. And I'm going to tell those stories to my colleagues when I stand up and I fight for these programs. And if it's all right, I'll use your names. Nalita and Angelica and you, Cassandra, and you, Iris, and Mikhail. This is what we need to do all over the country. We'll do it here, but what I'm trying to do is to work with the advocates all over the country to get them to speak up, to speak out, to visit the offices of their members of Congress, to talk about how what they need to do, how we anticipate that they will vote, that when these cuts come, Tommy, that they will vote against them. And I'll just say this to you. Not long ago, a number of us, both Republicans and Democrats, were given awards by the Head Start Association, champions of Head Start. I want to make sure that both sides of the aisle, the champions of Head Start, are champions of Head Start when those bills start to come to the floor of the House, and that they have to cast their vote no on a cut and yes on increasing the funding. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Questions? Questions? And our Head Start graduate, yes. Your name, give me your name.
Janet.
Janet, okay, okay. Any questions, comments,
Could I
suggestions?
ask a question of the mom?
Yes.
Use your imagination for a second and think about a world in which you did not have LULAC, where your kids did not get to come here, because that's what we're talking about. with the
Yes, sir.
cuts. What would that have been like for Kingston on down? To not
Oh, yeah, that would have been not a positive ripple effect. My mindset is always anything that's negative or hiccup, quickly turn it into a positive. So when we were faced with the pandemic, we were faced with maybe 2 to 3 weeks or max 4 without childcare. So when we was not in childcare, I had 2, so that was Raina and Caesar. Raina was still a baby, but Kingston was rambunctious, and he's a boy, he's active, and mind you, like I said before, now in Lulac, he uses the breathing methods. But before, it was a process. Just like you brushing your teeth, it's a process, because Kingston wouldn't use his words. He was very, I say rambunctious, but it's that's the nice way of saying it. Yeah, I'm so positive. But he was using his hands not a nice way, using his words in a not nice way, and very mean to his siblings. So that was a not nice. So it's just turning the not nice into a positive. So it's sitting there using his breathing, just being with him. If you're angry, sad, or mad, I'm with you at that point in time with any aspects. So Lulac was very on point and very steps. Yes, yes, ma'am. Very essential. With the whole process of Kingston. Yes, sir.
What about you, Olivia? Can you imagine? Could you switch places just so we can pick you up?
With Maya, like during the pandemic, it was a little handful because she gets bored easily. So it's like she's either running back and forth, or she was like asking her sister to play when her sister had to do work. So it's like she always wanted to do something. So it was just, once it was time to go back to the school, it was like a relief, because like now I'm bored. Let's do this or let's do that. Now she's busy and she's keeping herself occupied, because at home she's always bored, whether she's watching TV or doing the ABC mouse. She was always found something boring. So now she's never bored. She looks forward to going to school. She'll wake up every morning, and like if she had to miss a day because of an appointment or something, I want to go to school. Like, you have an appointment, but I want to go to school. Or if she's sick, I want to go to school. I'm like, you can't go to school. But yeah, it's a
Yep. And one of the things it is, and I don't use the word, to be honest, I don't use the word slots, because that's an abstraction. This is about kids.
Yes.
This is about a child. And it's just, but these cuts would affect the providers.
Yes.
The cuts affect the providers. This means that Lulac and others will have to do a lot less in terms of being able to provide this kind of service. So it's all around. Again, thank you. I love it that the teachers and the partnership. The partnership. That's a great word. Anything else?
It's like they say, it takes a team to build a village.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks very, very much.